How can your business get approved for a high-risk merchant account? My name is Maria Sparagas. I am the founder of Direct PayNet. I work with thousands of 7, 8, and 9-figure merchants, and I help them figure out their payment processing conundrums. Today, I want to walk you through step-by-step how you're going to get yourself and your business a high-risk merchant account so you can scale and grow your business without worry. Now, have you been told that your business is a high-risk business, or that you've been tagged by Stripe or PayPal or your payment processor as high risk? Don't fret, this is not a bad label. This just means you need to do a little bit more research and figure out a payment processor that can work with your business model so you can scale without headaches. Now, whether you're selling supplements, coaching, digital content, crypto, anything in the adult space, if you are in the cannabis industry, even if you have a subscription-based business, travel businesses as well, these are all businesses that are considered high risk, and these are businesses that need a high-risk merchant account in order to be able to make sales online. And if you've been running one of these businesses that is considered high risk, you know that getting a merchant account is not as easy as signing up on Stripe or taking a couple of minutes and filling out a PayPal form. It does involve a more heavy application, and they do ask for more documents. But once you go through those hurdles, as I'm going to explain to you in a minute, then you'll have a partner that works with your business. And as I mentioned earlier, you won't have any headaches with payment processing because they understand your business type and your niche and will be able to work with you. Now, if you're listening to this video and you just realized or you were just told that your business is high risk, the one most important thing that you need to do is to make sure that you start looking for another payment processor. If your payment processor, for example, Stripe, PayPal, or one of the big banks like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, and so forth, if you're working with one of these, I mean, you can continue working with them, but it is important to get yourself a backup solution, because if they've told you that you're high risk, or they're sniffing around your account and looking at your business more closely, these are not the right partners for you if you're in one of the spaces and the niches that I mentioned earlier. So one thing that is important is, if you are high risk, to have at least 2, maybe 3 different options. Anything as important as payment processing or accepting credit cards on your online store always needs to have a backup. Regardless if you're high risk or not, I think it's a very important thing to always have a backup in your business. For example, if you have a server, you likely have a backup server for your site. You likely have backup employees for different operations in your business. So being able to accept credit cards is a lifeline for an online business. So having only one option will likely lead to issues later on if, for example, you get a couple of disputes that you were not expecting, or for example, if your payment processor decides that you no longer fall within their risk appetite, which happens quite often, they may just shut you down and give you very little notice. So having a backup as a high-risk business is even more important. And if you are a high-risk business and you're working just with one payment processor, it is time to get yourself a second one. Now, what do you need in order to get a merchant account? The first thing I recommend is creating yourself a folder and putting common documents that you will need in order to apply. So this is essentially getting your documents in order so you can be able to reach out to different payment processors and have a package ready so you don't have to dig through files, scan things, and go through everything. And the common documents that you will need in order to get a high-risk merchant account include a government-issued ID. Usually a driver's license in the US works. If you don't have a driver's license, then a color copy of your passport can also work, or any type of government-issued ID, as long as it has your address on it and a picture of you. Another thing you will need is obviously a functional website. So there are a lot of businesses, for example, that do phone sales, or different businesses that haven't looked at their website for a long time because they have a lot of recurring customers and so forth. When you are applying for a new merchant account, you need to make sure that your website is in order, your pricing is clear, your products and services are detailed on that website. So have a look at your website and polish it up. Make sure your terms and conditions are up to date. You have a privacy policy, a contact us page, and obviously any pertinent information about your business. Now, another thing you will need is some business bank statements. So you'll need at least 3 months, but ideally I would collect 6 months, and you should always separate them by calendar month. So you just grab your statements, separate them by calendar month, have 6 months worth. Usually you'll only be asked for 2 or 3, but if you have the 6 months ready in case they need to review more, you'll have it in your folder. You don't have to dig through it. And the same thing goes for your payment processing history. So if you already have payment processing, then they will ask for 3 to 6 months of payment processing. The more you show, the better the results will be, the faster your application will go. So always make sure that you have them as a summary statement. So you don't want to send, pages upon pages of CSV files and so forth. You want to have a summary statement. For example, in Stripe, you would need something called a balance report that is available in PDF format, and you can pull one up for every month, and you should save those in a folder. And even if you're not applying for a merchant account, it's probably a good idea for you to always save those statements, to have them on hand so you can be able to review charges, fees, as these can change. So it is important to have your payment processing statements, but for the purpose of your merchant account, always make sure to have 3 to 6 months separated by calendar month saved in a folder. Now, another thing you're going to need is your business registration documents, your articles, your memorandum of association. You should have that information already saved. You should also have any type of business license. If you require, for example, a travel business may require a travel license, then you may want to have those types of licenses available. If you are fulfilling different products, if you're in the health and beauty space, for example, you can have your fulfillment agreement ready because that usually needs to be reviewed. So you should have all those documents in a folder. And as you're speaking to different payment processors, if you're interested in applying with them, those are pretty much the documents that they're going to need in addition to you filling out a full application. And keep in mind, the more organized you are, the faster you'll get approved, and the more information that you can share, for example, about your bank statements, your financials, and any previous processing statements, the faster the process will go and the better terms that you're going to get. So you may, for example, not need a reserve if you have plenty of processing history that shows you have low disputes, low refunds, and so forth. So go ahead and share this information. You don't have to overshare, but if a payment processor asks you for 6 months of processing history and you have it, you should share that so they can take a good look at your account and be able to approve you quickly. Now, before you apply, it is important, as I said, to gather all these documents, but I am going to talk a little bit about your business and your website. So it is important before you apply to take a look at your website and really ensure, for example, that your pricing is up to date. So if you haven't updated it and your prices have changed, if you have subscriptions, it has to be clear. So that is really, really important. It's also very important for you to have a refund policy. Now, gone are the days of telling customers they're not allowed to get any refunds and you won't take any orders back and so forth. Payment processors want to make sure that you have a clear and a fair refund policy because that ultimately dissuades customers from charging back and causes less disputes. So it is important to make sure that you have a reasonable refund policy, that you have clear shipping policy. If you are drop shipping, if you're shipping things from outside the US to US customers, if there's any duty or extra fees, you have to be clear about these things right at the upfront on your website. And you can just take a look at your terms and conditions and really update them to make sure that customers can get the information that they need. And these are things that payment processors look out for. So you may delay your application if, for example, you have no refund policy and customers can't easily find it. You don't want to go and apply, have all the documents ready, and then stagnate your application because, for example, you have no refund policy and they need one on your website. Also, for all online businesses, it is important to have strong customer support. So just having an email support option just won't work now for most payment processors. They want to make sure that you have a phone number that's available to your customers in case they have questions. If you have chat, obviously email support, that's also important. So you want to have as many options as possible, and you want your hours to reflect the hours that your customers live in. For example, if you are in the East Coast, but you're selling all over the United States, you want to have some hours that cover the West Coast as well. So you want to make sure that you have these on your website, usually at the footer of your website. You can just have links for all these different things, and that will make the process so much faster when you apply for a merchant account, and it will make also the terms of your merchant account likely be better. If a payment processor sees that, for example, everything's very clear on your site, your pricing's there, your terms are up to date, everything's good, then the application will go very smoothly and you will get your merchant account a lot faster than if they have to come back to you and ask you all these questions and ask for updates. So before you apply, just take a look and clean it up so you go in with your best foot forward. Now, if, for example, you're working with a payment provider like DirectPayNet, which is my company, we will coach you through this. So if you do need help and you don't understand what your website is missing or what you need, you can call us and we'll walk you through it and we'll help you get a merchant account for your business. But keep these things in mind and try to always think of, what your customers may need or want, and put it on your website, because the clearer you are, the more likely you are to get better terms when you do get that merchant account. And now the most important thing is to apply with the right provider. So as I said earlier, if you're running a direct response business in the health and beauty space, or you're a digital content provider, or you have a travel business, a cannabis business, a gambling business, you don't want to just go to Stripe, fill out that application and start processing. 3 weeks later, they take a look at your business or you're scaling and things are going well. And all of a sudden you get a letter in your inbox saying, we don't work with this type of business. This is not in our terms and conditions that you agreed to, and you will be shut down, or we're going to keep all your money for the next 6 to 9 months. So all these things can be very big headaches. So although they're fast and easy, there's always consequences to these types of things. So it's important that you work with the right provider and you are upfront and you tell them about your business model. I guarantee you, if you have a legal business, there are always tons of payment processors that are willing to work with your business. For example, my company, DirectPayNet, we work with tons of merchants in the health and beauty space, digital content. We work with gambling merchants. We work with merchants in the adult entertainment industry, in the crypto industry, and so on and so forth. As long as you're doing things legally and that you're upfront and explaining what your business model is, we can work with you and help you find the best solution for your business. And if we can't, we can refer you to a company that can help you. So keep in mind, as long as things are being done legally and you're upfront, you can find somebody that wants to work with your business type. Now, the important thing to remember, it may take a little bit longer than what you're used to, for example, by working with Stripe or PayPal, but ultimately it will be worth it because you will have a provider that works with your industry, so you can start scaling without the headaches, without the worries, and so forth. So get your documents in order, as I said earlier, and the process will be seamless, it will be fast, and it will be organized. As long as you have all this stuff ready, then you shouldn't take more than 5 to 7 business days to get up and running. And in terms of the technology, in order to integrate and so forth, most merchant account providers work with tons of different gateways and have a lot of connections to different CRMs and shopping carts and so forth. So this is just a minor detail that you can figure out once you work with a provider that works with your business type. Now remember, once you get approved, the first 3 months of your merchant account are very critical. What you want to do is you want to start off slow, test your account, make sure that your dispute rate is low, make sure that you communicate with your payment processor if you're having any issues or something goes astray in your business and so forth. You have to keep it very clean in the first 90 days in order to make sure that they're willing to work with you in the long run. So keep in mind, even if your provider works with high-risk businesses in your niche, if your performance is all over the place and your chargebacks start running high in the first month or two, then you will likely have some issues. So do your best to keep performance very good in the first 3 months. And once you have one set up, it's always a good idea to get a backup so you don't have any bottlenecks in your business. Any high-risk business that's selling products and services online should have at least 2 merchant accounts to fall back on, because with any technology provider, there could be shutdowns, there could be policy changes, there could be a whole bunch of things that happen. So it is important to have a backup for your merchant account and try to have, 20 to 25% of your business go to your backup. So, this is as important as having a backup server, as important as having backup employees. Having a backup merchant account will save you a lot of headaches if, for example, one day you get a notice that one is terminated because they don't want to work with your business anymore for whatever reason, you will always have that backup that you can move to. And then once you move to that, then you can get yourself another one to always have a backup to that one. So in order to avoid, shutdowns or not being able to scale because you have volume limitations and so forth, get yourself a backup, talk to different providers, and always remember your rates can be negotiated, your terms can be negotiated, but with any good business relationship, what you want to do is you want to start the relationship, show who you are, what your business does, that you're a reliable business and that you have a good product or service, and then you can negotiate. What you start with, for example, today with your merchant account in terms of pricing and terms and reserves and so forth isn't necessarily what's going to be the case in 6 months. So the first 3 to 6 months, you can start talking to your payment processor and negotiating, for example, a lower reserve if a reserve was put in for your merchant account. So now to recap, if you've confirmed that your business is high risk, get your documents ready. As I mentioned earlier, you get those all in a folder and make sure that they're clean and organized and the documents that you need. Make sure that your business is clear and clean and your website has up-to-date privacy policy and terms and conditions and pricing. Now, don't forget, as I said, to apply with the right provider that works with your business type. Don't try to hide it and try to find somebody or trick a processor to work with you. It's just going to end up in more headaches for you later on as your business is scaling. And last but not least, keep your communication strong. Obviously, provide the information that you're asked for and don't hide anything about your business. Make sure that you're upfront about how you're selling and so forth. So make sure you're upfront about what you're selling and how you're selling it, and I guarantee you will find a provider that wants to work with you and that is willing to support your business. Now, don't forget, if you're in a high risk industry and you're always worried about getting shut down, or you're getting notices from Stripe that are making you sweat and wake up in the middle of the night, it's time to call my company, Direct PayNet. We are specialists in high risk merchant accounts. We've been in business for over 15 years and we work with a ton of different business models, and we would love to hear from you and answer your questions and explain to you how we can work with you more positively and make payment processing stress-free for you and your business. I'll leave a link down below. You can leave a comment or write to us to get more information. And if you liked this episode and you found it useful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends to get more amazing content. Have yourself a great day.